Hi, in this video we'll learn how to use another loop, the while loop. In addition, we will talk a little more about infinite loops and their potential application. Let's get started. The first thing about the while loop that is worth mentioning is that its declaration is similar to that of the if statement. Just instead of the word if, you use the word while. Let me show you an example. Say we have two int variables a and b, and we want to print hello while a is greater than b. Here's what the code would look like. It looks very similar to the if statement, doesn't it? How is the while loop different from the for loop then? While loops do not have an explicit counter, only a loop termination condition specified in the round brackets right after the word while. However, the fact that the while loop does not have an explicit counter doesn't mean that we cannot add one to it. Let's write a program that prints the values stored in an array just like we did in the previous video, but this time we're going to use the while loop instead. First of all, let's declare and initialize an int array with 5 elements. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to declare an int variable that is going to act as a counter. We can now traverse the array inside the while loop with I is smaller than 5 being the termination condition. Inside the loop, we're going to have our program print the values stored in the array using the variable I as the index of the element we want to print. And after that, we will increment the value of the variable I. If you run the program now, it will print all the values stored in the array. In other words, the for and the while loops are generally interchangeable. There are some technical under-the-hood differences between the two, but from the functional point of view, there's hardly anything you can do using the for loop that you can't do using the while loop. However, the for loop is generally preferred over the while loop when you do need an explicit counter, for example when traversing arrays. When do we use the while loop then? The while loop is generally preferred when loop termination is not directly dependent on how many times the code inside the loop has been executed. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We're going to create a simple guessing game where the user will be asked to guess a word. The program will repeatedly ask to input another word in case the user provides the wrong answer. What do we need to do first? Right, we need a string to store user input. We also need to inform the user what he or she needs to do. We then need to take user input and store it in the string variable we declared above. Finally, we will have the program ask the user to try again until he or she gets it right. What will be the loop termination condition? How do we check whether the answer is correct or not? What function do we use to compare text? If you said strcmp, you were absolutely right. Do you remember what we need to do to be able to use the strcmp function? Right, we need to include the library the function belongs to, like this. What we need to do is we need to compare user input with the answer, and until they match, we will bug the user. Let's have the user guess the word hi, and the loop termination condition will be the result of comparison of user input and the word hi is not 0. Let's run the program to see what will happen. If you type anything other than the word hi, the program will bombard you with please try again. Let's stop the program by pressing the stop button here. Some of you might remember a similar situation we had in the previous video. Does anybody remember what it's called? Did you say an infinite loop? If that's what you said, you were absolutely right. Why does this happen? It happens because we don't let the user change the answer and try another word. So the program keeps comparing the same wrong answer over and over again. How do we fix this? We need to take user input again and keep doing that until the user gets it right. Where in code do we do that? Since we might have to take user input more than once, we should do it inside the loop, right after asking the user to try again. Now it works fine, except for the case when the user gets the word right. Currently, our program doesn't do anything when that happens. Let's have a program print a message when the user gets it right. Where in code do you think we should do that? We should do that right below the while loop. So when the user input matches the right answer, the program will ignore the code inside the loop and move on to what follows the loop. And now it works. Before we started writing the program, I said that the while loop is generally preferred when loop termination is not directly dependent on how many times the code inside the loop has been executed. What does it mean? Well, when traversing an array using the for loop, the number of times the code inside the loop gets executed is dependent on the size of the array. However, in case of the program we just made, we don't know how many attempts the user will need to guess the word, so we do not really need an explicit counter unless we want to limit the number of attempts that we give the user. In this video, we'll learn how to use the while loop in addition to the for loop that we covered in the previous video. We also learned that the two loops are generally interchangeable, but one might be preferred over the other depending on the objectives. Finally, we created a simple guessing game using the while loop. Feel free to explore and tweak the game. You can limit the number of attempts the user has. You can also give hints to the user. And this is it for this video. In the next one, we will summarize what we've learned so far, and that will be the end of this video series. In the next series, we'll deepen our understanding of programming by doing even more exciting stuff. See you then!